Hey again YouTube, StickGuy187 back again with another review. Okay, this is the biggest knife I have ever seen. A lot of people are calling it a machete or a short sword. Near as I can tell, it is truly a knife. They're not flexible like the machete or a short sword. As you can tell from the box, it's a Kershaw product. It is the Kershaw Camp 18. I decided to go for the big beast because I have several 10-inch knives and several 14-inch knives. And I wanted the biggest knife I could possibly find. Two different versions of it you'll see. I think it's called the XN version. It comes in a plastic clam shell packaging. You find it at like your local sports store, your outfitter store. This one came to me from Amazon. A couple of things that you'll notice right away that I've taken off are the belt loops. It comes with these little Velcro belt loops, and you can either attach them to the milled mounting points on this plastic press fit sheath, such as that, and you can have it sit a little bit higher, or one of them already has a, sorry, the Velcro on one of mine did not come fully stitched together. So you have to be a little careful. When you first get it, make sure you check that. Just going to stitch it back together. But anyways, one of them comes with belt loop built in if you want to do a drop carry. Also comes with, of course, their little package and everything. Unfortunately, the package just tells you mostly about the Camp 10, which is the smallest version, the little recurve version that Chris from Prepared Mind 101 hates because it's got a recurve. But I did actually find it, believe it or not, this little package handy, because I did not know that Kershaw has a lifetime sharpening guarantee, and they actually tell you the angle you should sharpen if you're going to sharpen on your own. But if you ever dull this thing enough that you need to resharpen it and you don't want to do it yourself, you pay to send it to them in Ohio, and they pay to send it back to you. So that's a little bonus. I did not know that. As you can hear, this little plastic sheath, there's some rattle in it. I don't actually like that. I may make myself a Kydex sheath, buy a 2-foot-long piece of Kydex and just taco it over here. I do like the multiple holes for, you could molly wrap it, or you could lash a fire kit to it, or a smaller knife, or hell, you can have a shovel to it if this is going to be attached to your backpack. I just took off the sheath stuff because I need to stitch them up a little bit better. I do like this double retention. It comes with a double retention, which means it snaps here, covers this point here and this point here, and wraps around the back. It's actually pretty cool because you can unscrew this and reverse it to the other side if you need to, and if you want to do a left-hand carry. It is so big though, even on a drop carry, that is one hell of a knife. So yeah, I don't particularly care for the sheath. It's not bad overall, but I don't like the fact that it rattles. So when walking through the bush, you're going to hear that rattle. But they did include a drain hole at the bottom, which is nice. Sometimes they forget. So that if there's any moisture or you over-oiled it, it just drips right out. It doesn't, you don't end up with funky stuff in your sheath. You can do the multi-position carry, like I said, with that. I really don't see anyone ever scout carrying this thing because it's a monster and it's lighter than me. So. But enough about the sheath. Let's go on to the knife. Yes, knife. Not a sword. Not a machete. The spine on this thing is, it's half an inch, or not a half an inch, sorry, half a centimeter, almost a half centimeter. It's, I think it's 0.23 inches, so it's like 4.5 centimeters thick. And it actually does taper down to a wicked little point. It's flat grind up to here, and then you get a slight convex out of the, right out of the package at, mine came in at 20 degrees, which is the same as the Utilitac 2. It's also the same as some of my kitchen knives. So I did name this one. It came out so keen, and it makes a nice little sing through the air. I called it keening. The Camp 14 is actually the knife that Chris from Drop Force Survival, I'll put his video here. That's the one that he sliced through his finger on. So, yeah. Hope you're feeling better, Chris. This is the big brother of the thing that sliced your finger. I'm going to do my best to not lose a finger today. So let's go into the handle and I'll show you what I'm doing to not lose a finger. This is actually a fairly comfortable handle. Its handle, I'll show you on the package. Yes, I wrapped it. Its handle's actually got a decent swell and it's got a good rubberized cover so that you don't need the Wilson wrap for grip. But what I found is because this thing is so big and the handle is very small, it's the same handle for the 10, the 14, and the 18. It's very small for such a big knife. I wrapped it in Wilson wrap because there was a lot of impact traveling up my arm, clearing brush with it. Obviously you can baton with this. I'm not batoning the 4x4 in front of me, though I will chop at something and compare it to my other choppers. But why do I call this a knife and not a machete or anything like that? It's because there is next to no give in this thing. Machetes, like this Cold Steel Gladius that you guys have already seen me review. The Cold Steel Gladius have, seems sharper than hell, a lot more spring to them. When you chop into something, they wobble a little bit. This thing, when you chop into something, it doesn't wobble very much. It is a lot closer to the bush hog in that. The spine is almost the same thickness. I think the bush hog has that extra ½ centimeter I was talking about. And obviously, the designs of the blades are different, but they're both great choppers. So let's do a quick comparison on the choppers right after I do a cut test. Oh, anyone who's wondering about the steel, it's 65 Nn, which my research says it's like 1075 high carbon, but it's got like a little more silicon and molybdenum, put the word here maybe, makes it a little more rigid, which I am slightly worried because more rigid tends to mean more likely to break if I were to smack it against something. But I've taken one tiny swipe at it with a sharpening steel, but damn, this thing is big. It's really hard to get a good draw cut on it. There. Yeah. It's big. It's like 2 pounds. It's over 2 pounds. They say 2 pounds and 14 inches or 14 ounces. It's, well, obviously it's head weighted. Blade's 18 inches, and then this whole thing overall is 24 inches from tip to the end of the pommel. I want a bigger handle, but this is what you get. I like maybe another inch or so on the handle, and my hands are, like I said, they're not huge meat hooks, but I like it to be a little thicker. But regardless, let's go on to a couple quick chop tests. Now you can see my stand is missing its customary tabletop because I'm using it for chop tests. This is how I designed this stand, just so that I can have the 4x4 pieces. You guys saw the tire in my intro to this video. I've also got another one for just air gun targets, solid wood back, and then foam with a softer piece of foam behind it, and then a piece of cardboard behind that. Catches pellets just fine, lets me test them. With the table on there, I can put a arrow target and just strap it in place with cinch straps, and it holds in place just fine. But yeah, right now, let's do a chop test. So I'm going to start with the Cold Steel Gladius, once I move everything out of the way, and one chop. Okay. That was one chop next to no power with the Cold Steel Gladius. Not much shock traveling back through it because it's nice and springy. Bush hog. Again, not much effort. That actually went in deeper than the Gladius. Because of that Wilson wrap, it doesn't actually transfer back to me very much. But yeah, good little chopper. Now, something I've not shown you before. This is a budget cleaver, fantasy cleaver. I'm taking a book out of Scalding, and I bought this for about $6. Spent some time on a whetstone with it. Let's see if it does anything. I have to tell you, that actually transferred a lot of shock back to my hand because it's just paracord. It's nylon corded wrapped. Didn't go as deep as either of the other two. Obviously didn't separate as much material. So now, let's see how the Kershaw does. These are all fairly similar in design and weight. The Kershaw is the heaviest. I think the cold steel Gladius is the next heaviest, so no effort. So that's the budget chopper, Chinese chopper. This is the Kershaw cold steel machete. I should mention that the angle of the blade on that machete is 17 degrees, so it's actually a sharper angle than this. That thing I spent probably 4 hours on a whetstone with, so it doesn't surprise me that it bites in a little bit more than the Kershaw, but it is nice to know. So that is a quick comparison test. And now, through the magic of video, I'm going to transform this so that I can do a ballistics gelatin test, because I finally got my ballistics gelatin to work. So, ta-da! Magic. Anyways, this is ballistics gelatin. As you can tell, it's just come out of its mold, which was kept pretty damn cold. It's kind of gross doing that. Anyways, this should do a decent simulation of soft squishy bits of people or animals or stuff like that. I'm going to see if I can do a chop through it. I got 4 little nails that are just holding it in place so that there's some traction, so it does simulate, you know, going into something, someone. But I'm hoping that this frost that you see on the outside that's just kind of coming off won't be too bad and won't impede the cut too much. I'm also trying another camera, so you might see if I can get this to work properly, slow-mo. So let's find out. Don't do this at home, kids. Don't do that at home, kids. That popped right off. But, of course I'm going to give you another chop after that. But yeah, that's the cut. Not exactly the world's strongest cut, too. Dude, this is... I've never done this before with ballistics gelatin like this at home, so that's actually pretty sick. And really kind of cool. If you keep this stuff clean, you can actually reuse it. So you just melt it back down again, you put it in the mold. So let's see. That's kind of fun. Never give a nut job a really big knife and ballistics gelatin. How does it work on just cuts? Oh yeah, that's sweet. So I'm not using any effort, and this thing is going right through this. That's pretty cool. One last cut. Alright, now, you know, what do I think of this thing? Well, I got it through Amazon for about $60, and I think that at that price, this thing is definitely worth it. If you want a very large knife. Like I said, this is not a machete to me. Cold steel Gladius, machete. Bolo, machete. All of those are machetes to me. This thing doesn't flex very much. Even when chopping, you know, it's not getting much flex. It's just basically transferring everything straight through. I'd probably pay maybe a maximum 60, now call it 70 bucks. I might actually pick up the Camp 10, the smallest version of this. I don't see the need for a Camp 14 when I've got the Camp 18, but a couple of things that I should let you guys know about. Well, I'm going to splice in a little more cutting footage and then I'll let you know. So here's the footage. Well guys, as promised, watermelon cut test with Keenan here. Hopefully I can just go right through it and won't be like the Ballistics Gel. Oh, by the way, isn't it a gorgeous day out here? Yeah, that actually worked just fine. Knocked over my watermelon, but now I've got a new spot. Say, to mount the watermelon. Yeah. Brains. Yeah, cut test. Done. Oh my god, the table's gone. Needed to clean up a little bit. That gelatin melts fairly quickly, so if you do decide to make your own, I'll see if I can put a link or description on how to make it or how I made it in the description box. But yeah, so final thoughts on the Kershaw. It is great. Like I said, with the weight, I felt a lot of shock transfer back to my hand just because it's 2 pounds, 14 ounces of steel hitting stuff. So what I did was I Wilson wrapped it. So I'm sorry that I can't show you the original handle, but to make everything safe with the tests and the chopping and all that, I just wrapped it up. And then I put a little bit of hockey tape at the top, so it gives me a little bit more control, I find. Thank you, Chris Thorne from Dropforge Survival. That was the guy who cut his finger with the Camp 14, for giving me the idea of going through both lanyards. What I did was I actually took some 1/8 mil-spec shock cord and I doubled it up. And the reason I doubled it up is that gives me the option of either doing both over, which holds the knife against the hand for really extreme chopping, or I can do it a little bit lighter if I'm just in the garage or, you know, clearing out the garden or anything like that. Still holds it in place. Obviously it's not as strong, but yeah. I've looped it through, started from here, went down, looped back, came back through, and then tied it up here. Another reason I did it like that is I can't stand having a knot on one side or the other. It gets in the way. This doesn't interfere with putting it back in its sheath at all, and I find that when I'm not actually using it with the lanyard, it gives me a little bit extra heft to the handle. Like I said, my biggest complaint is the handle and the rattle with the sheath. Somebody said I could take cardboard and shove it in there, or I could take pieces of foam or earplugs, shove them down in there. The only thing is that drain hole, I want to plug that up, so I might just say screw it and Kydex my own sheath for this. I should be able to do it. Might have to readjust my press, but yeah. So I like the knife overall. I mean, it's really a big chopper. You don't need something like this as a knife unless you really want to, and seriously, that's why I like knives. They are fun and big. You guys are probably noticing I tend to think of things in a tactical sense and then think of them in like a field or a survival sense. Not this. Tactically, big ass knife. Really slow to get it out of the sheath. What are you gonna do? No, that's not gonna happen. So I thought this was an awesome knife, especially for 60 bucks. I mean, I got it for, I think it was 63 with tax. I've seen it at 85 bucks in stores. I've seen it for $65 at Warriors and Wonders. That was last week. Maybe it's on sale this week. And hey, I'll order another. But yeah, Kershaw Camp 18. I think the series is called the Kershaw Camp 1074 Camp 18. I will probably pick up the 10 in the series because this is a seriously sweet knife. And yeah. If you guys are interested in a big knife that will probably help you process large game, moose, elk, caribou, deer. This will, well, you saw the drawing cut on the Ballistics Gelatin. Not a problem. If you need to take off a hind quarter, this will go right through if you need to. This will probably even split ribs on a deer or a moose. I'm hoping I can get into a partnership with a local butcher shop to actually show you if this stuff is suitable for like hunting or anything like that, but so far, nothing as yet. Apparently I'm either not too crazy or not too insistent. Yeah, that's about it for the Kershaw Camp 18. I gotta admit, I love it. Don't like the sheath. Wish it had a bigger handle, but I've kind of worked at fixing that, and I might make a new kind of sheath. So that's my review of this thing. Until next time, guys, I'm Stick Guy 187. Stay sharp.